When buying a house, what's something you thought was minor, but has become the bane of your existence? Finding good people to do small jobs. The reputable companies don't like to waste time on small jobs, so it's usually pick someone off of the internet and hope they don't make it worse, or DIY. I live close to a plumber who is always willing to do small side jobs on the weekend. Same with an HVAC guy, 2 doors down. Another neighbor is an old retired school janitor, and I asked if I could pay him to do odd jobs, like install a ceiling fan and later a screen door, that kind of stuff. He works slow, but he shows up on time, and that is 50% of the battle when it comes to handyman types. I'm not sure if this is the community building they always talk about. It worked out for us. Bamboo. Someone before me planted super invasive, 15-foot tall growing bamboo in the backyard. It was spreading so wildly, it was uplifting the granite pool and growing under the foundation of the house. You could see the remnants of a barrier of sorts of where they initially planted it, obviously not knowing how bamboo grows. I myself did not know until I purchased the house. Absolute nightmare. A guy once said to me that bamboo is like a cold slow fire that is alive. If you don't keep it in check, it will destroy everything. It's worse than that, it's impossible to keep it in check. You have to remove it completely, and completely I mean every scrap of root. After I yanked out mine, I was still digging out new sprouts for the next 6 months. Oftentimes, the new plant was growing from literally 1.5 inches of root that I had missed. Think of every tiny piece of root as a new seed. Rule of thumb: every nice thing, interesting extra, or big thing means more maintenance. Large pool, you have to clean it. Large driveway, you'll need to shovel it and resurface it at some point. Large yard, you gotta mow it. Large deck, you have to paint it. 3 bathrooms? Thrice the cleaning. Lots of windows, lots of cleaning. Lots of mature trees, lots of raking. Lots of mature fruit trees, bees and wasps everywhere. Large high roof with cool architecture effects, super expensive to reshingle. A large skylight in the living room, it will leak, it's not a question of if, but a question of when, etc. This comment is 100% fact. Good job. Some additional things to add, as someone who bought a home 2 years ago. All repairs cost more than you want, but many are less than I'd expect. Nothing is under $200 to even have someone come look at, but I've found that most minor repair work is under $1,000 to fix. The quicker you are to fix something, the less it costs. Couple of mice got in the basement, cheaper to buy traps, poison, and steel wool now, than to pay for a full-blown extermination later. Water is bad. I now hate rain and snow and any leaking thing. It's bad for the roof, it's bad for the foundation, and it's damn near bad for everything else in between. Fix leaks immediately. For those looking at houses, good bones matter a lot more than shiny surfaces. My wife and I passed on several flips because inspectors shook their head and bought a house that needed some surface upgrades. Our repairs have been small and inexpensive, and left us with money to put towards slowly remodeling some rooms. Fences are too effing expensive. That is all. Talk to your neighbors about things. I had a tree taken down recently, gave my neighbor a courtesy heads up, turns out he wanted a couple more taken down in our yard if we didn't mind. They paid the bill. Not saying this is normal, but being nice to your neighbors goes a long way. Look for rebates. I live in MA, I got $10,000 back when upgrading my heat pump and adding air conditioning. A $30,000 project cost us $20,000 because of a rebate program. There is a lot of money out there to claim back. Learn some basic handiwork. This can be done slowly. Maybe pick a trade and learn the basics there, then move on. I went from clueless to semi-handy in 18 months. Can fix a toilet, replace a sink, fix a dishwasher, and patch up small holes or issues without problem. Electrical is my next focus. Never buy a house where the kitchen, laundry, or living room wall is shared with the master bedroom, if you are a light sleeper. My laundry is next door, but I sleep with earplugs. Earplugs in general have been a lifesaver as a light sleeper. The wall is also remarkably well sound insulated. When we toured the home, the previous owners had the laundry running. Realtor was apologetic, but we were like, oh, that's perfect, we can see what it sounds like from different parts of the house. We live in a 100-year-old house, with a huge, open basement. Our washer and dryer are in our basement. For some stupid reason, known only to them, the previous owners installed the washing machine and dryer on opposite sides of the basement, instead of side by side, the way normal people would have done. I bought one of those professional chrome laundry carts that the laundromats use to shuttle loads across the basement between machines. Eventually, I plan to rewire the place and relocate the dryer next to the washing machine. I rented an old home like this. The washing machine is in the kitchen, only spot with accessible plumbing. The dryer was in the garage, opposite end of the building, one floor down. Also, the fridge was in the dining room, because the kitchen was too small. Check cell coverage, and find out about the ISP. The town I live in has horrible cell reception. Luckily, my ISP is great, and has excellent service, so I just connect to the Wi-Fi. Worst part is that I don't live in the middle of nowhere. I'm in a suburb of a massive city, so I don't understand why the service is so shitty. I live in a major US city, about a mile from downtown. Half my house is a dead zone. There's a path behind my kitchen window that separates the garden from the house. The path runs behind all the houses on the street, and everybody, residents, has access. I wouldn't mind this, but our neighbors on each side are best friends, and so they stand on the path directly outside our kitchen window when they chat. Finding contractors for minor repair jobs. I had a chimney leak and called 4 companies. 3 of them didn't want the job, since it was a $300 to $500 repair. The 4th set up an appointment with me, but never showed up. It took me over 4 months to find someone. Fun part about owning small houses. No one wants to work on the things, because it's 1/3 to half of what a MC mansion would cost for the same job. You get a lot of FU style quotes. They don't really want the job, so they'll write a quote so inflated, it's just an FU letter. Window treatments or curtains. The guy before me broke up with his girlfriend. She moved out and took all the curtains out of spite. I didn't think it was a big deal until I priced out new ones. So true. It's a massive racket. Even the mail-order DIY stuff is expensive now. Expect $150 per window and up, way up. And you rarely can take it with you to the next house. The windows will be different sized, the color scheme won't work. For 25% of the cost of curtains, for a modest home, you can buy a sewing machine and the needed material. Curtains are stupidly easy to sew. I'm a manly dude, and I sew my curtains. Why? I like my money, and now that I have a sewing machine, I can make all sorts of cool stuff. I need custom out of canvas. 100% recommend learning to sew simple things. Go to the neighborhood you're looking for at night, and just sit and listen. The noises you pick up over the week will last years. So, be prepared for that. Also, ask about internet. It can be make or break. Cell signal, to a point as well. Ask neighbors about flooding. Also make sure to see how busy the street is during rush hour on a weekday. If you tour the house on Sunday morning, you have no idea if that quiet street becomes a freeway at 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. There is an apple tree planted in the middle of my backyard. Free apples every fall. Every year, it sends up branches about 4 feet high, which look terrible, and don't help anything at all. Every year I have to prune them. I got a chainsaw on a stick, but it is still a lot of work. And the apples? Well, unless you spray them with about 4 chemicals through the year, they will be small, scabby and wormy. I've used them for applesauce, and dried some, but they aren't great. The deer, who come to our yard, love them, though. Swimming pool. So much work and money to maintain. Maybe gets used a dozen times a year. For the money you invest in an outdoor pool, you can probably join an ice country club, or take a really kick-ass tropical vacation every year. I just bought a house with an in-ground pool. I replaced the pump and redid all the PVC. There were leaks in the PVC, so I bought glue and more PVC, and redid all the PVC again. Now, the couple-week-old pump stopped working. I can do pool chemistry all day, but I hate this mechanical maintenance. I finally broke down, and I'm having professionals come out to look at it. When, a year later, neighbors from hell buy the house next door. I had a whole neighbor who would skim the dead bugs, dead frogs, and debris from his pool, and dumped them in my yard. I found out when I heard a tap, tap, tap noise, and looked over to see him reaching his pool skimmer over his fence to knock the rotting stuff into my yard. So, later, when I found dog crap in my yard, I picked it up with a shovel and yeeted it over the fence into his pool. He was a terrible neighbor and always did stuff like this. One time, he cranked up the radio in his car, which was sitting in the driveway at the front of his house, loud enough so he could hear while mowing his lawn. Specifically, he wanted to listen to music while he mowed his backyard. The whole neighborhood hated him. Growing up being taught to respect others' space, this kind of behavior is so bizarre to me. You couldn't pay me to play music that loud, and yet I can picture his neutral expression as he mows his lawn. The original owners of that house installed a pool. Code requires a barrier, but instead of screening the pool, they put up a pressure-treated board-on-board privacy fence around the backyard. Whatever. It's their pool, and they will be the ones to have to clean out leaves, etc. When this guy moved in, he decided he wanted a better view, since all he could see was the inside of his privacy fence. So, he decided to knock out every other board from the fence, for about a 16-foot section. It looked awful. The HOA refused to do anything about it. Why do we pay HOA fees, then? So, the easiest solution was to plant a hedge on my property to hide it. He finally moved out a few years later. The new owners, who were quiet and respectful, replaced the fence. I bought a flat. The neighbors immediately below us smoke a lot. All the time. They smoke so much that you can smell it when you open the kitchen cupboards, under and next to the sink, because the scent creeps up through the holes around the pipework. Can't open the windows in the summer, because as soon as they cough themselves awake in the morning, the stench of cigarettes starts drifting up through them and fills out home. They smoke in every room, and in the bedrooms, till after midnight, every day. I'm an ex-smoker, and I'm still finding it disgusting. Being the only house on a non-maintained county road, developer didn't complete the road up to the county specs, so they won't plow it, fix it, or do anything to it. Why would I pay my own money to fix a road I don't own? Our house is on a privately owned street, in what feels just like a normal part of town, but apparently the council has no ownership of the street. About 10 years ago, everyone pulled together and paid for it to be fixed up, because it was bordering on third world. Almost doubled the value of the houses. If you are looking for a house in a community with an HOA, get a copy of the current rules in advance. It's good to know what you're going to deal with when it comes to the rules of the community. Good neighbors are also key, at least ones that are not loud and leaving garbage around. You can drive through the neighborhood in the evenings or on weekends to see what it's like when people are home. I ended up living next to what I think is an illegal boarding house, so they have a bunch of cars and construction materials in the front of their house every day. Which direction your bedroom is facing? Lived somewhere where the bedroom faced southeast, and it was always boiling in there, no matter what the thermostat said, or how heavy the curtains were. Same could be said for how much natural light you want, or if you garden. Need to keep the cardinal directions in mind. It's crazy how little thought towards the sun's direction is put into a building by architects and buyers. My house was largely oriented around that whole concept. The lower floor has large floor-length windows that let in lots of low winter sun, but the roof and upper floor overhang shades the high summer sun. The master bedroom faces the sun, but the wall facing the sun is a sloped roof that was designed to absorb the heat into solar boiler, thereby negating the heat issue. There's a small skylight window in that wall that has a shade on it. And the insulation in that wall is crazy. The other wall faces west, so it only gets late evening sunsets. It's cool in the summer because of sun consideration, and warm in the winter from the insulation. The previous owners removed the solar boiler because it was ugly and didn't produce enough hot water. I mean, I get it, but it still would have been a great feature. The insulation still helps massively with the heat. I think about windows and sun facing and resulting heat from the sun so much, as someone who currently rents or just lives in apartments and will be moving or renting for some years still, and from going back home to visit my parents. It's crazy to me that people wouldn't have the foresight to plan around this when buying, too. I wish this thought went into building homes, but that may be a bit much to ask in this capitalist society. The home you currently live in Sounds like a dream. At least, in this aspect. I haven't bought a house, but from working in an industry directly involved with it, some things I hear the most often have been, be extra cautious about the neighborhood and the next door neighbors. You can easily fall in love with a house and picture yourself living there, but don't make such a massive purchase until you are sure you'll be comfortable living in that spot. Swing by the area outside of a home tour. Check it out at night, too. Is it still quiet and peaceful? Is there anybody who can tell you about the neighbors? Once you get stuck buying next to bad neighbors, well, you're stuck. Have the home professionally inspected by someone you find. Flipped homes often cut corners, and I guarantee you will find things that need to be repaired or replaced within the first year, if it was done poorly. Inspecting plumbing lines and air ducts is also important. Find out when the water heater was replaced, that sort of thing. Swimming pools can be a maintenance nightmare, and as such, I never want to buy a house that has one. Avoid cantilever decks if you can. It's the #1 spot for structural failure. If it is in a condo in an HOA, or apartment, you then have to rely on the complex to maintain it properly. Sometimes they are neglectful. I wouldn't trust it, and would avoid living with a cantilever deck. Trees. Look where trees are planted. Are they close to the building, or close to concrete? Many common tree species cause immense damage, ranging from roots lifting sidewalks, to roots creeping into plumbing lines, to damaging your foundation, if it is too close to the building. A pine tree within 5 feet of a house would be a deal breaker for me. So would a few other trees, but these are particularly problematic, especially with the pine needles falling on the roof and clogging the gutter. The one bathroom is on the upper level. No back gate in the fence, but the trash gets picked up from the alley. The kitchen has a door, or window, on every side. It's 8 by 10 feet square. Otherwise it was a great price, and I've been here for nearly 15 years, so, obviously I've managed. Except for one brief stint, I've been lucky with my immediate neighbors. But my next house will hopefully have better features. Non-impact windows. Every time a hurricane comes through, I have to bolt on all the damn heavy-ass shutters, then when it passes, I have to lug them back to the garage. I could do impact windows, but it would be like $30,000, and there's like a 10-month backlog with all the manufacturers. Because my house is so old, I need custom sizes made. Neighbors. Make or break your existence. Okay, not really, but seriously. Get to know them before you move in, because you're likely stuck with them. Second, was lawn. I have an enormous backyard lawn. Then I realized how long it took to mow, and if I didn't do it weekly, I was screwed. After a year, I said, screw it, and paid to get it mowed, professionally. Neighbors and street traffic are two things that don't get put on the MLS listing, but are two of the most important aspects of a home. Yeah, I feel bad for people who get the house right at the end of a street, where all car headlights coming down are beaming directly into your house all night. Street traffic was the one I was advised to be aware of. When looking at houses, you get caught up in all the other stuff. Nobody is driving through my neighborhood unless they are coming or going home, and it's very important to me, especially with children. Not having an entry space. Our front door goes right into the living room, and it sucks in the winter with the kids, coats, snow boots, etc. And don't even get me started on when we have a party. I'd kill for a foyer. Same. I have hardwood floors, and I taped out an entry space inside the front door, removed the wood flooring in that area, and tiled it with the nicest, coolest tiles I could afford. That created the vibe of a separate entry space and a safe place for wet shoes and boots. I also found a bunch of well-made wood wall accessories and floating shelves on Etsy, so I could have a place to put mail and keys and sunglasses. They had to be really beautiful, because they are right there on the wall in the living room, so they also function as decor. Finally, I have a massive monstera plant in a pot strategically placed, and I have some modern blonde wood wall hooks on the wall right behind the plant for coats, and the plant is now big enough to kind of block them from sight if you're on the couch or walking towards the door. I fantasize about building a house, and it would have a foyer with a large closet, and a landing pad table, and a heating vent near the place where wet shoes and boots go. Or a mud room. Or a foyer and a mud room. We gave our flower beds a year to see what they did before messing around with them. Turns out, our front beds are full of yarrow, which is sort of gross and hard to remove. Started trying to remove, and discovered the grounds is full, absolutely chock full, of decorative landscaping rocks. Why? The rocks were there first. There were weeds growing through the rocks, yarrow, so, the owners cut them short, and then covered them with dirt, to show, and sell the house. Awesome. A pool. We thought it would be awesome to have a pool. It's the effing worst. The chemicals, the cleaning, the maintenance. It's nothing but work. Oh, and if anything leaks or breaks, it's hundreds and hundreds of dollars to fix, or you're effed. It's so much money just to maintain. Plus I'm in the Northeast, so, it's all this work for about 3 months of use. It's a massive pain in the ass. Never buy a house with a pool, unless you're rich enough, to pay someone, to take care of it for you. My sister bought a house with a pool about 14/15 of a years ago, before moving to a house without a pool. Standard idea, we're gonna use it all the time, even if it's a lot of work. We'll use it every day after work and it'll be so nice. It's gonna be so nice to have. I lived with her in that house, for about 3 months, during the summer here in Texas, and I think, we used the pool about 4 times. It was nothing but a massive money hole. My folk have an above-ground hot tub, and that thing is used at least once a week. That's a better investment than a pool is, in my opinion. A bit of advice, I haven't seen posted yet: if you drive, and have a long commute, try to live east of your workplace. That way, you're driving west in the morning, and east in the evening, and you won't have the sun in your eyes both ways. Safer, and less stressful, over a long period of time. ETA, I'm so pleased people find this helpful. All credit to my dad, who drove east in the morning, for 45 years, and warned me, never to put myself, in the same situation. We'll just change this light fixture out. No the F you won't, apparently. Added for context, GF bought a house, and found a ton of work, that was done poorly, by the last homeowner. Electrical work was done improperly, and needs to be completely rewired, and they put in plaster ceilings, that go down further than the casings for the light fixtures. So, regular light fixtures won't work in some places. I have no idea how they got the previous ones on. It's a nightmare. This is only a small part of what was done poorly and needs redoing. There is so much more. I'm relating to this one hard. Not only have we lived with things we didn't think we would, for 15 years, the previous owners seem to have done the electric themselves, while high on meth. Water. Every house has water leaking somewhere. Whether it's poor grading causing water in the basement, exposed nails on the roof, shower hardware not tightened down, pieces of siding missing, egress windows rotting. I'm at the point where I'd be more comfortable buying a house on a slab. This is in Michigan. This motherfudging sink, the ex-wife picked out. It's a textured white tub with an unfinished brass faucet. You have to clean the F out of the sink, or it stains. Also, you can't fit anything underneath the damn faucet to fill it up. My God, I hate this thing. I hate how high everything is. I am not short, but the 14-foot ceilings makes all my decoration look like a hobbit hole. I hate this place. The location is nice for a family, but for a single guy, I feel like an ex-murderer, and my dates have to leave before kids flood to the schools next door. Split level. Never again. Trying to vacuum a split level is a pain in the butt. Also, you have so much less floor space and square footage. Also, carpet. Nope. Too hard to keep clean. So gross. I've got a single-story home now, with a full basement. We ripped out all the carpet, and refinished the original hardwood floors, although, vinyl is also pretty nice. So much more floor space, and easier to keep clean. Also, carpet. Nope. Too hard to keep clean. So gross. Most of the second floor of our house was carpeted. Before we moved in, I ripped it out, and refinished the floors. The number of stains on the underside of the supposedly clean carpet has made me swear off carpet forever. Attic is still carpeted, and it looks to be much newer. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I'm afraid to rip it out and find that the floor underneath needs even more work to look half decent. Unique homes equals unique expenses. We bought a custom home from the couple who built it. Largest kitchen you've ever seen. The couple had put cork in the kitchen. They also installed an instant hot water heater for the sink. Well, one day, a small hose came loose from that instant hot water heater. A pressurized hose. 2 inches of water in an hour, on a giant sponge of a floor. We have good insurance, and it cost them six figures to fix that kitchen. The cabinets were solid mahogany, and the bottoms had been installed on top of the cork. Then when those were replaced, it was obvious, the stain of the uppers no longer matched. The crew cracked a slab of quartz when removing it. This was not Home Depot quartz. We had to pay extra to buy tile for this monster of a kitchen, because, no, we were not putting cork back in. When we moved in, every bathroom was still 1989. Because this was a custom home, we couldn't update them with standard grade materials. And on and on. We did sell the home in 2018, for a good profit, with all our updates. And bought a tract home, with vinyl floors. I love LVP, and builder grade materials, and I'll never go custom again. I want a home, where I can get my new vanities, off Wayfair, or from Lowe's, if I need to upgrade.